speed, precision, and purpose. Three elements that separate mere machines from icons. Imagine a machine built to slice through corners like a scalpel, born from obsession rather than trend, a creation that didn't just join a class but redefined it. Its shape was a statement, its sound a challenge, its performance a line in the sand for everything that followed. This was not designed for comfort or compromise. It was engineered to make its rider feel invincible, to turn every straightaway into a declaration of intent. Every millimeter, every component served a single goal: to dominate, to push, to win. Few creations ever earn that right. Fewer still hold it across generations. But this one carried the burden of a legend and the promise of a comeback that could shake the sport itself. The kind of story that starts in triumph, dips into pain, and fights its way back to the podium. If that sounds like the kind of ride you live for, make sure to like, subscribe, and drop a comment with the next machine you want to see unleashed. The Honda RC213V of 2025 stands as both an evolution and a reckoning, a motorcycle built on a decade of glory and a few brutal lessons. When the project first took shape, Honda wasn't chasing novelty. It was defending a dynasty. The RC213V was meant to distill everything the company knew from decades of Grand Prix victories into one seamless extension of a rider's will. From its earliest days, engineers obsessed over balance, mass centralization, corner entry stability, and throttle response that felt alive rather than mechanical. In theory, it was the perfect MotoGP weapon. In practice, perfection came at a cost. The 2025 iteration carries the weight of history, the echoes of Marc Marquez's dominance, and the scars from seasons where that dominance dissolved into struggle. Inside Honda's race department, the design intent was brutally simple: rebuild control. The RC213V was no longer just about horsepower. It was about making power usable, predictable, obedient. That meant countless hours of telemetry analysis, redesigned chassis geometry, and electronics that no longer fought the rider's instincts but amplified them. For riders, the RC213V isn't a forgiving machine. It demands precision, punishes hesitation, and rewards courage with lap times that border on impossible. Owners of its road-going derivatives feel a shadow of that intensity. The immediacy of throttle response, the tautness of its suspension, the way it asks you to be better every time you swing a leg over it. Yet this machine wasn't born in isolation. Its lineage runs deep, shaped by Honda's belief that engineering excellence must be both art and science. Every nut and bolt serves a philosophy, total harmony between man and machine. The 2025 RC213V embodies that harmony while acknowledging its predecessor's failures, especially the twitchy 2020-2023 versions that left even elite riders doubting the front end. In the pits, the RC213V's mechanics became as much psychologists as engineers, chasing grip and confidence in equal measure. Honda learned that winning wasn't just about building faster bikes, it was about building trust between human and machine. By 2025, that trust became the entire mission. The carbon fiber frame, once stiff to a fault, was reimagined to flex just enough for feel. The aerodynamics, once brute force downforce, now whispered stability through every high-speed bend. Even the engine mapping evolved, turning aggression into precision. The Honda RC213V of 2025 is less a tool of domination and more a declaration of resilience. It's a response to critics who said the era of instinctive riding was over, replaced by digital babysitters and data-driven decisions. Honda's engineers, fiercely proud yet humbled by defeat, aimed to prove that intuition still mattered. The bike may be controlled by algorithms, but it's still guided by human pulse. For those who remember the golden years of Marquez's lean angles so extreme they seem to defy physics, this machine represents the bridge between memory and modernity. The rider can once again dance on the edge of traction, feel, react, and conquer just as before. This return to balance between analog bravery and digital assistance is what makes the RC213V such a compelling story in 2025. It doesn't just showcase engineering, it showcases evolution through humility. But beneath that evolution lies a deeper question. Has the rest of MotoGP moved beyond the kind of control Honda once perfected? Or is the RC213V's new form the blueprint for revival? That's where the story intensifies, as competition, innovation, and redemption collide in the next chapter. By the time the 2025 Honda RC213V took to the grid, the stakes had changed. MotoGP was no longer just a battlefield of horsepower. It was an algorithmic war of traction maps, data interpretation, and race strategy powered by supercomputers. The RC213V had to reclaim relevance against machines that learned faster and adapted better, and against teams that no longer feared Honda's name. This wasn't just about fixing a motorcycle. It was about proving Honda could still dictate the terms of competition. Every manufacturer had its own philosophy, some chasing corner exit torque, others aero balance. But the RC213V stood apart with its pursuit of intuitive control. Honda didn't want a bike that rode itself. It wanted a bike that made a human feel limitless again. The 2025 RC213V became the stage where that battle of philosophies played out, and the world was watching. Riders who tested it described it as alive again, a machine that no longer fought back. Lap by lap, telemetry confirmed what instincts already sensed. The RC213V could carve through tight complexes without the front-end jitters that had haunted it for years. Yet its resurgence wasn't just mechanical. It was cultural. Honda's garage transformed into a command center of adaptation. Old-school engineers working alongside young data analysts who'd grown up coding race logic instead of twisting wrenches. Together, they created a machine that didn't chase perfection. It evolved toward it. The 2025 RC213V marked a rare fusion of legacy and innovation, where tradition met machine learning and pride met pragmatism. And it needed to, because the rivals had never been stronger. Ducati's machines were aerodynamic monsters with brute acceleration. Another manufacturer's bike specialized in electronic wizardry that made traction almost foolproof. Yamaha focused on finesse, but Honda's answer, the RC213V, chose feel over formula, trusting that even in the digital age, instinct still mattered most. That decision divided the paddock. Some saw it as genius, others as nostalgia wrapped in carbon fiber, but results began to speak louder than opinions. As podiums returned, the narrative shifted. It wasn't just that Honda had fixed a problem, it had rediscovered its soul. Fans started to see in the RC213V something they hadn't in years: defiance. The kind of defiance that had once made Marquez invincible, and with that came a renewed sense of ownership for riders and enthusiasts alike. The RC213V's impact reached far beyond the racetrack. Private collectors, track day riders, and even casual fans began looking at Honda's road bikes differently. The DNA of the 2025 RC213V, its revised chassis stiffness, smoother power band, and refined aero, started filtering into production machines, making every model down the line feel sharper, more communicative, more honest. In a market saturated with electronics that do the thinking for you, Honda's new direction whispered something daring: trust yourself again. That resonated deeply in the US, where riders value engagement over assistance. Dealerships reported renewed interest in the CBR line, especially those echoing RC213V geometry and ride feel. It wasn't nostalgia, it was faith reborn through engineering. And yet, for all its progress, the 2025 RC213V still carried the ghost of its past. The machine had been both a crown and a cross for Honda, its success tied to one rider's brilliance and one company's relentless pursuit of dominance. Now it had to stand on its own. Could it sustain greatness without leaning on legend? Could the same spirit that built empires survive in a grid obsessed with data points? The RC213V's story in 2025 isn't about lap records. It's about endurance of purpose. A motorcycle that once symbolized unbreakable control now symbolizes adaptation. It reminds every engineer, every fan, every skeptic that evolution doesn't erase identity. It refines it. And as the championship unfolded, every finish line felt less like an endpoint and more like an echo of something bigger. The rebirth of belief in the bond between rider and machine. That sets the stage for the final chapter, how the 2025 Honda RC213V's comeback redefined not just Honda's future, but the very idea of what progress in MotoGP should mean. In the final act of its story, the 2025 Honda RC213V stands not as a comeback, but as a mirror, reflecting everything MotoGP has become and everything it risks losing. When this machine hit the track, it wasn't chasing ghosts. It was rewriting the definition of success. Honda's engineers knew they could no longer rely on raw dominance. To survive, the RC213V had to evolve from an apex predator into a precision instrument, a racer's scalpel, honed through failure and faith. Within its carbon and titanium skeleton lives the culmination of lessons learned the hard way. That control without confidence means nothing, that data without instinct is empty, and that even the most advanced technology must serve the rider, not replace them. The 2025 Honda RC213V proves that progress isn't about reinventing physics, it's about refining feel. On the track, that philosophy paid off. The RC213V began to dance again. It leaned deeper, braked harder, and accelerated smoother than it had in years. What once felt unpredictable now felt organic. Every turn became a conversation between man and machine, fast, fluent, and fearless. That's the magic Honda was chasing all along. The kind of connection that turns competition into art. And for Marc Marquez and every rider who followed, the RC213V represented something more profound than victory. It represented rebirth. After years of struggle, the machine that had once betrayed its riders finally gave them wings again. But redemption in racing is never permanent. The grid evolves faster than loyalty, and the future waits for no legend. Even as the 2025 RC213V reminded the world of Honda's heritage, the next wave of rivals was already learning from it, pushing aerodynamics deeper into sci-fi territory and AI-assisted control beyond what human reflexes could manage. The RC213V stood as a line in the sand, one that dared to ask whether racing should still be about people, not programs. Its legacy will be measured not by titles alone, but by the questions it forced the sport to confront. For riders, it reignited faith in the purity of control. For engineers, it redefined what adaptability means. For fans, it restored a heartbeat to a sport that risked becoming sterile. And for Honda, it closed a circle years in the making. The long, painful transformation from untouchable champion to relentless learner. When the 2025 season closed, the RC213V wasn't the most powerful bike, nor the most digitally advanced, but it was once again the most human. And that, in racing, is the ultimate victory. Yet even as the sun set on that season, one question lingered. What comes next? Can Honda sustain this fragile balance between instinct and intelligence, between heritage and innovation? Or will the RC213V's story become a final flourish before another revolution resets the board? Whatever the answer, one truth remains unshakable. The 2025 Honda RC213V reminded the world why we fell in love with racing in the first place. Not for perfection, but for the pursuit of it. And that pursuit, no matter how the sport evolves, will always belong to those who dare to ride the edge.